Hi Janice, hi Meredith, hi Jen, hi Bree, hi Anne, Megan here. I'm starting my Ranunculus today, and so I wanted to jump on here and make a little video just for you guys. And I'm excited actually that this is just a little group. It's our special group, and you get to learn how to grow a really special flower. And I was thinking about it, and sometimes I think it'd be so nice to move down south where you could just have a longer growing season, but it's actually really special to live up here because it's a lot easier to make things that typically grow in a warmer climate. It's easier to warm them up so that they'll grow here rather than cool them down. Say if you were living down in Florida, it'd be tough to grow tulips. We kind of have the perfect situation where we can grow anything here if we give it the right conditions. So it's actually very easy to do the ranunculus. First thing you'll do, take your collection of corms, and I'm sure that you've all opened them up to see what they look like and found that they are teeny tiny little bulbs. They're a type of bulb called a corm, and the first thing we need to do is hydrate them to wake them up, and this will give them a head start on blooming in the springtime. So I'm just taking an ordinary clean kitchen bowl. It probably doesn't even need to be this big. This is the first step. Okay, I filled up my kitchen bowl with room temperature water, and I have my corms, and I'm just going to gently place them in there. As they fill up with water, they'll end up on the bottom here. And then I want to turn on the tap just a bit. Let's see. Not that much. I can get it to drip. Even just slowly. There we are. Your corms want to have oxygen in the water, so you're oxygenating the water as these plump up, and I think they'll plump up to about twice their size that they are now, about like that. I'll probably regret putting an estimate on it once we check in back later. I haven't done this in a year, but they'll get much bigger. They'll get even bigger once they get into the ground, but this gives them that head start. Now I'm doing this in my kitchen sink. If my family were home, I would switch to the bathtub. I might even get another batch going because I grow about somewhere over 2,000 to 3,000. I can't remember right now, something like that. So I need to get a lot of these guys going. I'll use big buckets and separate them into little bags of different colors. But I'll set a timer for 3 to 4 hours. I'm going to do it at the 3-hour mark because that'll just remind me to get the next step started with soil. So you want to give yourself 30 seconds to get this initially going, and then in 3 hours you still want to be able to be home to plant these immediately in your potting soil, in your trays. So we'll check back in then. Okay, we are just over 3 hours. My timer just went off. My corms are looking beautiful. I'll show you those in a moment. But we're going to prep our tray because once we drain the water from our corms, we'll plant them immediately into the tray that you've been provided. So get your tray, your organic potting mix, and watering can, or you can do this at another sink, however you want to do it. This is the way I'll do it. So I'll just tear open this head. You'll probably have a little bit left over. But we'll pour the dry mix into your tray, and about half the bag went into mine. Smooth it out and wet it down, and what we want is it to just be moist but not soggy. So we'll see how much water that takes. And bear in mind, if it does get a little bit too wet, you can always add more dry mix to it, which we will. And this is a peat-based potting mix, it feels like, at least. So this will absorb a lot of water, and even the amount that I just gave it initially looked soggy, but it's dried off pretty fast. I get often this dirty in our kitchen. Don't be alarmed. And what we want to get to is just to have the tray about half full of moist potting soil. Again, it feels soggy at first, but once you start squeezing it and moving it around, it really starts to feel dry again. A little bit more. Okay, this is where I want it. Okay. Here we go. It's ready for the corms. Okay, do you remember all those teeny tiny little corms? They've grown considerably. You can see it in the light. Since 3 hours ago. So these are absolutely ready for planting now. So I'll just carefully drain this out a little bit. And then take them over to my other table. Okay, I have our corms and our tray with our potting soil, moist. And do you see how these kind of look like a little octopus? You want to plant them into the soil gently, just like an octopus with its legs and tentacles going down. They don't have to be covered yet, but we'll take each of our corms and put them in the soil. I want to show you, you might get one and see that it is broken. It doesn't matter. I think, and I haven't trialed it, but I have read that even if you take off one of the legs is not the botanical term, but even one would sprout, but they don't encourage you to separate them or anything and have like separate little tuber type things. You plant them as a single bunch, and then you can almost see this one, yeah. See, they'll grow additional corms underground then. If you were to lift these up into the summertime, sometimes you'll find them all kind of tangled up with each other, and you can really be, I wouldn't do it now. I would wait till they were dry if we had started doing this, but you can separate them and then have 2 plants from one. And I don't think I've ever seen more than 3 corms that I pull up. I've never seen 4, but 2 or 3 is pretty common at the end of the season. And that's how you propagate ranunculus. Oh, sorry for my dog. So I'm going to plant the rest of these, and then you'll see how we finish up. Okay, I had fun. I hope you had fun. It felt nice to have hands in soil. And I have these planted. If you can see, they're just peeking out the top. So my final step at this stage is to cover them with more potting soil. So I'm pouring it around. You might want to do this outside. I get messy. And now you know my big secret, that I do everything in the kitchen. We just need to make sure that they're covered. I have trays that I really pack in a lot of corms because I have limited space, I have limited numbers of trays, I have limited potting soil, but I happen to really love this flower, and so I have a lot of corms. So now I have this covered. I'm going to just wet it down again. I have to kind of do this part a little carefully. That'll get absorbed, and I'm going to gently kind of see how that goes, see how fast it drains. I don't want to break any of the plants that are in there. You could also have a separate vessel where you make the soil moist and then do it on top, but I think that this will work. I'm going down with my fingers and poking around to see, and that's about the consistency that I'd like it to be. Maybe I'll do another splash. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. So this is it for step 1. You're done for about 10 to 14 days now. Well, with the exception of, I'm going to pop this in the fridge. They like to be in an environment that's about 40 to 55 degrees. My refrigerator's right there at the bottom end of that range. So during that time, oh, there's one that's sprouting up, or not sprouting up, but poking out. So I'm going to need to cover a little bit more with soil. During this time, they need to have the soil stay moist, so check on that. If you see signs of root growth, that's wonderful. You can poke around in the soil as long as you cover them back up again. You're not looking for growth of any leaves, anything like that. We just want to see a little bit of growth from the ends of the corms for root growth, because that'll help them take off quicker once we plant them outside in the ground in a couple weeks. If you poke around and you find that one is like moldy and there's not enough air circulation in the fridge, you can remove that corm so it doesn't spread any disease around. But take the tray out for a couple hours and just give it some air. Last year, I have a chest freezer in our garage that I use as a cooler. I have like a temperature, not a monitor, but whatever it is. It's like a little thing that I can plug in and change it into a refrigerator by adjusting the temperature that I want it set at. And I stacked these with little slats of wood, and they didn't really get enough airflow. It didn't impact the plants that I'm aware of, although I guess it did, because the corms, when they got moldy, they rotted and they got too soft and they kind of disintegrated. So I probably had less plants overall, and tossed a bunch once I was at the planting stage. But I read that people have had the same problem, and the way they solve that is just by taking it out and giving it some airflow once in a while. So that top of the soil layer isn't developing any mold or mildew, I guess. Probably just molds. But yeah, I'll pop this in the fridge right in my kitchen. It doesn't take up much room. It's a 10-inch by 20-inch tray. And I'll see you all in about 2 weeks when these are ready to plant. And I hope you have fun, and I hope you're excited. I'm excited to be doing this together, and I thank you for your support and being enthusiastic along with me. Bye.